Last week we looked at square root, and we saw square root by squaring both sides. Today we're going to look at cube root. So how do you think I can get rid of a cube root?
Well, cubing it, man.
Very good, by cubing it. So the technique is still going to be the same, except for instead of a 2 here, we have a 3.
And when you factor, you gotta make like 3 of them.
Now, before I can cube both sides, what do you think I should do first to this problem?
Oh, you should put the plus 4. Put the plus 4.
I should isolate my root, just like I did last week. So add 4 to both sides here.
And 4 cubed is 64.
That gives me the cube root of negative 5x equals 5.
5 times 5 times 5.
And now, how do you get rid of cube root? Well, you
5,
cube it. So raise it to the 3rd power.
This one did. I ain't finished.
The radical disappears. I get a negative 5x on this side. And what is 5 cubed?
125, is it?
125.
125. So if you go to your calculator,
Damn, that sounds stupid.
5, you can use this caret to do a cube. Or you can go to math and you actually have cube root here. So 5 math 3, cube root's 5. And yes, that is 125.
I mean, I watched it.
Now it's a linear equation to solve.
I don't know what.
So let me get rid of this negative 5 by dividing
Divided by negative 5.
by negative 5. And I get x equals a negative 125 divided by 5. Negative 5 is a negative 125. And we should always be checking our problems here. So negative 5 times a negative 25 is a 125. Square root, cube root of 125 is 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. So 125 checks out.
But are you sure? No.
Yes, I'm sure. That checks out. Okay,
It's not hard.
so the new thing here, cube root,
I'm like, this is not.
not much has changed as far as difficulty, just cube both the sides. Looking at this problem, what should I do first? Yeah, isolate the cube roots, so add the 2, move it over. That gives me the cube roots of x squared plus 4 equals 2. After that,
Cube it all.
cube it all, yep.
I'm like,
Cube the whole thing to get rid of that cube roots. That gives me x squared plus 4 equals, what's 2 cubed? 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And looks like I have a quadratic. There are several ways to solve this because it's a simple quadratic. Give me one method.
minus 4.
Okay, so subtract 4 to both sides. That gives me x squared equals 4.
Square root.
Very good, and square root. So where we saw get rid of a cube root, a square root is to square it, get rid of a square is to square roots, both sides. Now here is where you have to account for the plus and the minus. Because if I square a negative, it still comes out to be a plus 4. And that gives me x equals plus and minus, square root of 4 is 2. Now another method is to, like we saw with quadratic, set it equal to 0. So let me move this 8 over. I get x squared minus 4 equals 0. And to graph it, graphing here, I do see my values are negative 2 and 2. So there's another method. And let's check. 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Cube root of 8 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So plus 2 works. Negative 2. Negative 2 squared also gives me a plus 4, which is add to 4 gives me 8. Cube root of 8 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. So plus 2 and minus 2 both work. All right, last type of problem. I have double cube roots. Strategy stays the same, right? Cube both sides. And just like last week, we killed 2 birds, 1 stone. Both of these cubes are gone. I get x squared plus x minus 14 equals x plus 50. What would you want to do next?
Move that to the left side.
Okay, so by doing that, we do what?
Minus x and minus.
Okay, so we're going to set it equal to 0. So minus x and minus x, hey lucky us, my x is canceled, and minus 50 on both sides. I get some quadratic equal to 0,
X squared
x squared
minus 64.
minus 64. So since we set it equal to 0, let's go ahead and graph it. X squared minus 64 gives me values or solutions of plus 8 and minus 8. So x equals plus and minus 8. And we should check. 8 squared is 64. Plus 8 is what? 72. 64 plus 8 minus 14 is cube root of 58. And over here, I get 58, 50 plus 8 is also cube root of 58. So plus 8 works. A minus 8 gives me a plus 64 minus 8 minus 14, which is the cube root of 42. And then 50 minus 8 is also the cube root of 42. So both of these values work. Now the reason why we haven't run into extraneous solutions is because with cube roots you won't have any. Because if I cube a negative, it will come out as a negative. If I cube a negative, it'll come out as a negative value. Likewise, I can have a negative value inside of a cube root. Unlike square, there's no way you can square a number and it to come out as a negative. There's no way you can take the square root of a negative. That's a no solution.